Hey everyone, it's Tiffany doing cosplay, and today's video is just a quick tutorial on how I made my Professor Sada cosplay. So without further ado, let's get to it. Here we go. Okay, here I'm just creating a pattern. I did start with the Yayahan bodysuit as a base, which I already knew kind of fit me, and I'm literally just creating a crop top using the top portion of that, drawing out the neckline and making it a racer back. So that's all I'm doing here, literally just creating a paper pattern. These two are the front pieces. You only need one of each piece because you can mirror it, so you flip it and then mirror it, and of course label all of your pieces like I'm doing here, and yeah, just doing the racer back there. So this is the fabric I've used. It's a stretch scuba suede. The color isn't right, but we'll get to that later. So the front and back main pieces are done on the fold, and the front and back side pieces, there's just two of each. Mirror the pattern, which is what I'm doing here, and I'm just drawing on a seam allowance as well. These are the backside pieces. Exact same thing, just doing one, flipping it, and tracing around it again. And now for the pieces that are done on the fold, I'm pinning the outside edges together so I can flip it and just make sure that they are properly symmetrical. So I'm just popping the pins in here, then I'll flip it over, I grab my paper pattern, flip that, and then I retrace around. So I did put the pins on the drawn lines on the other side, and then I'm just redrawing it. If you have an actual fabric pencil that you can sort of wash off or whatever, I would recommend that. I was just using pen because it's all I have. And now I am just cutting my pieces out, cutting on the, obviously on the seam allowance, and then just cutting all the individual pieces out. This is the shorts, a pattern that I made. This I created from a bodysuit pattern. So the Zentai suits that you can buy bodysuit patterns for, like the digital pattern, I've pretty much just used the butt portion of that and created a shorts pattern. So it's just two pieces and you mirror it. Here I'm pinning all the pieces together just so I can get a rough test fit and kind of make any adjustments. If it's too big, which I think mine was, that's fine. Then I unpin it all, and I am now doing a dye bath because this has to be orange. So it looks darker than it is, like the fabric looks darker than it actually is. So here I'm just popping all the fabric in. I think I had to wet it, I think that's why it's looking dark. I used Rit dye here for the polyester non-natural fabrics. Follow the instructions on whatever dye you use. And here I'm rinsing it out. I think the instructions for this one was to rinse out in warm water and then gradually let it go cool, and you pretty much rinse it until the water runs clear. And I think I had to add a bit of detergent and kind of wash it a little bit as well. So now you can see my orange fabric, which I just let air dry. And here I'm using pleather. This is just the back side of the wrong side of the pleather fabric to create that leather looking neckline that she has, and the same kind of concept for the shorts as well. So I'm just cutting out this piece. I've added a seam allowance on that as well. And just sort of getting a rough look if it's big enough, what adjustments I need to make. And then I'm tracing around it again to create the other layers. So I make each one a slightly different shape, but I trace around the main one so I know what shape I have to work within. And I think I did this about 3 times. So that's what we're working on there. So then these were pinned and sewn together, like all the layers of the pleather, and now it's getting pinned to the collar of the orange just at the front there. I've just worked methodically and slowly. I did stitch all of this by hand only because I don't have the foot on my sewing machine or anything for it to effectively sew that pleather that isn't smooth at all. I'm just folding over the top edge here so it's just a bit tidier looking. So I did sew the leather bit of the top before I sewed all the top pieces together. So I was just making sure that was done. Now I did pin the pieces together and then actually started cutting the jagged look on the shorts and the crop top. Just so pretty much so I didn't have to sew quite as much and I didn't want to have to cut too much excess off. So that's all I'm doing here, and you can see all the pins there. And this was after I sewed everything, so I just did a straight stitch, then I went back with a zigzag stitch because I haven't actually used my overlocker yet, which I would probably recommend people do. And same thing with the shorts. For the waistband, I've just folded it over and I've ended up stitching that on the machine just to make it look a little bit tidier. So obviously, you know, before you make any proper stitching, just keep test fitting. And here I'm just sewing all the edges. So I folded the edges over of the arm straps and things like that, just to make it neat so they're not raw edges. And I'm just doing a straight stitch on all of these bits. I think it's doing a straight stitch. I could have been doing a zigzag stitch. Yeah, I could have been doing a zigzag stitch to keep it stretchy. And now here I'm just adding a bit of weathering. I do like to add weathering as I'm not a fan of flat colors myself. So I just mixed up like a watered down, like a brown kind of paint. And I'm pretty much just everywhere there's an edge, I'm just using just a rough, coarse, hard brush, and I'm just really putting that on, blending it in, using my hands a little bit, especially on the pleather, as it is quite wet. And I just, yeah, keep weathering around all the edges. It just gives it a little bit of dimension and looks a little bit more worn in, a little bit more lived in. And all the edges get the same treatment. You can use fabric paint for that as well. So I did buy a coat online that kind of looked the most how I wanted it to look. And I did actually tailor it a little bit because it was quite big. So I did sew it just to make it fit a little bit more curved, I suppose. And here I'm just doing the faux fur, which is what I had on hand. And yeah, I just cut it to shape. I mirrored both sides so they're the same, and I'm just stitching this on by hand, trying to get fur through a sewing machine. It gets quite tangled. These are toggles that were on a waistcoat that my mum had and she didn't need them, so we've upcycled those. I'm just painting them the same color as the faux fur. And I'm sewing on some loopholes for the toggles because this jacket did have buttons on it, as you can see one there. So they were taken off and the loopholes were sewn on for the toggles. And then just some little leather or pleather straps were sewn through the toggles and just sewn onto the jacket like so. Now here is the leg covers. So this was just more faux fur I had on hand. I just drew a basic shape that I was pretty confident fit around my leg. I did check with the paper first, cut it out in the faux fur, peel off or pull off the fur at the end, check it fits. And I did try two options. This is again just fabric dye. It's the same dye that I used for the crop top and shorts, so it looks like a completely different color. It's not, it is meant to be orange. The first way I did it was, as you can see here, with a spray bottle. This was very messy and the faux fur was very knotted, very matted, very rough, and it didn't go all the way to the roots of the fur. Then I saw quite a few people online do it this way, which made so much more sense. It's just like a salon hair dye brush, and I'm literally just brushing it on. I'm doing the roots, as you can see here, and then I'm smoothing it down. This did keep the fur a lot smoother, a lot silkier, a lot easier to deal with. For both leg covers, I did actually, and I did dry them off with a hairdryer because they were just going to take days. I did make some more faux leather straps, same as the crop top and the shorts, and this was just hand sewn onto the leg covers. The leg covers were sewn together just along the side, inside out, and then flipped the right way around. And I added Velcro to that just so it could fit a little bit more snug. Now that was sticky Velcro. I may have even glued it for extra security. You could use sew-on Velcro here too, but that's how they function. So these are for the little white details on her necklace and belt. So I just eyeballed it, hand drew them. I did a bigger one and a smaller one. So the smaller one I think is for the necklace, and the bigger ones are for the belt. And then on the necklace, the middle white thing has like a smaller layer on top. So that's just what I'm creating here. And then these just get transferred to foam. So for the smaller piece, I've actually put that on the adhesive backed foam, which is what I'm just cutting out here. And the other ones are just on straight up normal EVA foam. I think probably only 2 mil thick. I'm just cutting those out. So the one with the adhesive backed foam, I just peel off the layer at the back and it just sticks on top like that. These are then all covered in Warbler. I'm just using the Pearly Warbler, it's what I had on hand. So I'm folding it over, I'm making sure all the details are captured. This is the one with the extra layer. I'm leaving quite a bit of excess at the top because the idea is to heat the Warbler up and shape it over the wooden beads, which you will see soon. So that little bit of Warbler scrap on the floor, I did add that just to lengthen that, as you can kind of see there. So here is one of the wooden beads that I have, and I'm literally just heating up the Warbler so it goes all the way around and attaches back to itself, just so it doesn't fall off either side. And it does curve around the bead again so the bead can't just slip out. It does stick pretty well, but just in case. And obviously don't put it over the holes because you need them there. And that's what the white ones look like. So then the beads I had to paint, roughly half orange, and although I don't have it on video here, the other half are just painted brown. There was quite a few of these to paint, and I kind of had to paint half at a time and then let it dry and then go back and paint the other half. I think I only did 1 layer of paint, maybe 2, but they were just painted with acrylic. And here I'm just putting all of the beads, laying out where they need to go. So the belt piece is at the top and the necklace is at the bottom. The white bits I just painted white. And this is just a chain that I think my mum gave me that we had on hand, and I'm just feeding it through the beads in order. Just working slowly and making sure none of the holes are full of anything. And yeah, this was just a necklace chain, so I already clasped it together, and I just used a cord for the belt with a clip on the end, so pretty much the same way. Now the wig, this was my first real venture into wig styling. The wig wasn't quite as dark as it looked on the picture, so I just had to work with what I received. But it was quite thin. It's a beautiful wig, but very thin, so I crimped a chunk of it. The hair by the hairline I generally kept straight. I didn't touch it. And then there were some layers in between I didn't crimp just to keep it straight. So basically this is for the parts of her hair that are either slicked back or shaved. You could probably do either. So I'm just teasing it. I'm using the Got to Be Glued hairspray and I'm pulling it back nice and tight. So as you can see, the outer layer isn't crimped, and that is intentional. So I'm just doing it on the other side. I don't think they were perfectly even on the artwork. Maybe they were, I don't think they were, I can't remember. But anyway, I'm just doing the other side here. I'm just slicking it back as much as I can. And then I just had a little clear hair tie, and I just put a little rubber band around those just to keep them out the way. And that rubber band does stay in the wig because it gets covered by the rest of her hair. And now here, because she's got quite a bit of volume at the top and at the back, I'm literally just working in layers. I'm teasing it, I'm using the hairspray, then I'm smoothing it over the top just to give it that height and that volume. So I'm working from the back to the front. And these are before dealing with, she's got like 2 or 3 chunks at the front, which kind of go in slightly different directions. So this is purely just the back kind of areas at the moment. And then here I'm nearly at the front and I'm just trying to tuck bits under each other. If I want some hair to stay, I'm using those little clear rubber bands just to hold it where it needs to be, just to help that hairspray a little bit more. So now I'm working as best I can. It's not perfect, it's not exactly like the artwork, but I'm not a wig styler at all. I do not have that skill set at the moment. So just doing what I could here, and as you can see, that front layer has not been crimped either, so it's still nice and smooth. And then it's just a matter of tweaking it with your hands as you go, to just until it looks how you want, and then adding the hairspray to help hold it there. I did end up gluing a bit of extra hair on patchy spots as well. Now these are the weird spiky things she's got in her hair. This was just, I think, 2mm foam. I just cut out some little triangles and glued the edges together. That was a scrap of craft foam I had on hand, so I used that as well. These are then primed with Flex Bond and then just painted orange. Now the orange paint I had was very, very thin, so this took many coats. I think probably about 5 coats of paint. And then I'm just painting on the brown stripes. Again, this was like a super thin wishy-washy paint, so it took a few coats as well. These were little, one of the bracelets. I just thrifted one of those and painted it brown, and then I had another one which I painted orange, so that should have really been the accessories bit, but yeah, that's what I did with the bracelets. They were just thrifted and painted. So back to the little hair spikes. I did cut some little short bits on the wig, as you can see there, with like a little ponytail, and I just put hot glue in the spike, whacked on the wig, and then I put more glue around the top of the spike just to hold it down, and that's what the finished wig looks like before I cut the lace off, obviously. But yeah, that's how she's looking. This is what the costume looks like, and then we will get to some photos. So hopefully that helps some of you, and yeah, good luck with your Professor Sada cosplays, and enjoy playing Pokemon Scarlet or Violet if you get that one. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that was helpful for at least some of you. As always, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, share. If my video is helpful at all and you make a Professor Sada cosplay, I'd love you to tag me so I can have a look and share it to the socials. So yeah, as always, stay tuned for the next video. I will see you guys soon. Thank you so much for watching. All right, bye!